Hi, and welcome to the Business and People podcast. I am your host, Walt Bayliss, and in this episode, I'm thrilled to be able to chat to an old friend of mine, a guy named Brad Andrews, who's been through the corporate ladder, achieved massive success, and then taken the huge leap out into entrepreneurship and building a business within $1 million in 12 months and keeping going to create amazing things. Brad and I chat about some of the difficulties going from that employee to business owner path. We talk about motivation, we talk about goal setting, and we talk about legacy, being able to create a life by design. I really enjoyed chatting to Brad on an interview level as opposed to being just friends that we have been for years. I hope you get a lot of good techniques, tips, and motivation with my good friend, owner and CEO of Uptime Systems, Mr. Brad Andrews. Brad, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Thanks for the opportunity. Greatly appreciate it, Walt.
It's great to connect with you, mate. And what really excited me, Brad, when I look at your journey, so as I mentioned in the introduction to everyone, you've come through from an employee and now branched out onto your own as an employer, I guess, as the CEO of your own company. What does an average day look like for you now as, you know, in that leadership role in that CEO space?
Yeah, look, very, very exciting, but also challenging in a good way. The way I approach my day is a little bit different now because I have a holistic strategic view, vision of the company now. So I'm thinking about where do we want to be in 12 months, 18 months to 5 years. I'm looking at bigger picture. I'm looking at that bigger plan, but then down to the fact that I can wear a lot of hats. You know, on a daily basis, I can be doing anything from business development through to setting a marketing and executing a marketing plan there, through to sales calls and presentations with clients as well. So it's been really exciting. We obviously operate in many different markets. So the challenges, the projects, it has been incredible, really.
Awesome. That's really cool. Do you find some of those hats challenging in terms of now, I guess everything rests on you coming from that corporate background. Now you have to juggle a little bit. Have you found any of those hats difficult to put on and a skill set that you've had to learn?
Yeah, look, definitely. I think my experience of 18 years in the channel has taught me that, a lot of these skills have been acquired along the way, but now it's also some things where I have to upskill and learn more and go and read up and get just a little bit more advanced knowledge, specialized knowledge in those key areas to best be equipped to drive the company forward, but also know when to delegate out to the team, the marketing consultants or the salespeople that we have as sales agents in the field. So I've actually been able to take a step back and delegate, but then also know what's best suited to my skill set to actually take on and execute myself.
Yeah, cool. As a business owner, how do you know when's the right time to bring someone in, either as an employee or maybe as an outsourced contractor, and versus handling that yourself? Like, what's the definitive line for you in terms of delegation, do-it-yourself employment?
Yeah, definitely a very important question. It usually depends on the role and responsibility. So whatever we're taking on, whatever the particular task might be, I'll look at that and try to assign to the best skilled person for the role. So if I'm not that person, who is that person? Are they in my team or are they a third party that we could perhaps engage to get value and best response from or best result from and work it that way? If it's best suited to me, great, I take that on and I take that responsibility and I execute that action. Or I'll simply outsource or use my team.
Very cool. As we look at starting businesses, and so many people have that kind of I wish I could, or I feel like I want to work for myself, and then there's that almost that fear of stepping out in terms of leaving something that's been secure that perhaps you've been working on for years, and then taking that big leap. How did you approach that with mentally and with the family and the situation?
That's a great question. I really appreciate that question, Walt. Actually, it takes my mind back to a time when you and I sat down. Actually, we caught up, and had a good discussion around this. I was still employed at the time and running a multi-million-dollar corporation for a multinational company, which was a fantastic role. great company, great opportunity, great experience. But in my life, I've always felt like there's more, and I'd like to be all I can be. So for me, it was about the fulfillment of my lifelong goal and career. So I had to establish, even from that moment we discussed and then beyond, okay, what do I need to do to get there? And what steps am I going to take from this moment on to make that happen? So that was realizing where I'm at. How can I strategically organize a plan to come up with a business plan and strategies for my business? What are going to be my markets? How does my first year look like? And what are my expenses? And all those general things just detailed and really wrote out that plan.
Right.
So I actually put that on paper into a goal. I put an executable date against that at the time and really said, look, it is going to be scary and I'm going to be questioning what I've done in the beginning, but I know in the long run, I back myself to take this leap and really execute and start to organize the company and branch out.
Knowing you, and as you mentioned, we've been friends for a long time, but knowing you and your background, the identity that you brought to your previous role was almost in the way that you treated your employment as your own business anyway. You ran it with your heart, you ran it with your soul. And am I almost right in saying it got to a point when you said my identity or my position in that employment role, and as you said, you've spoken very well about your previous employer and the opportunities that they gave you, but that position where you said, I now need to take something bigger, and that was the kind of the catalyst to move forward. Is that accurate?
Definitely. For me and my personal goals, it was about being all I can be. And I love business. I love my clients and I love the space that I work in so much, but actually having my own legacy. So looking at Uptime Systems and my company, but looking at it as the fact that this is going to be my own legacy now. I will run my own show. I will do the best I can to best serve my clientele in this channel space.
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
market. I will make the decisions, best practice for the channel, for the customer. There'll no longer be any boundaries in terms of what I can do there, and I'll go about making that happen.
Absolutely, which is a really cool way to go, and I guess having that control, that's why the C is in the CEO position, is that you have that chief position where the responsibility, the decision making, and the direction comes down to you. And I think as people look at an entrepreneurial journey, sometimes that's scary because you don't have that backstop, I guess. Have you experienced the need, I guess, to have anybody in a coaching role or in a mentorship role as you've gone on to this journey?
Definitely. So probably since back 2004, I went to a seminar on a weekend out of my own time while I was just a sales rep at the time. I went to a seminar there around personal development. I learned so much from that journey. I took myself from an average rep to the top rep nationally in the company, year on year, back to back after that. And that was about recognizing the need for personal development and lining up with a mentor. So absolutely, since way back then, on and off. And, I'd like to say that I was perfectly streaming that mentorship all the way through, but it was on and off and I got distracted.
Sure.
But the importance of that was significant in my growth from that moment all the way through my career projections as an employee, and then further now, even more so to my key mentors in the States, to where I am now and being a CEO myself. So absolutely. I
love the trajectory of personal development. And speaking on a personal level, the opportunity for anyone, no matter where they find themselves, to go from A to B, simply by the content that's available to all of us right now. So, I'm a father of 2 kids. I know that you've got the kids as well. Being able to take the kids, take anyone in any position and say, what do you want to learn about today? And being able to say, okay, let's tap into some personal development. Let's talk about goal setting. Let's talk about, stress management. Let's talk about financial management. Let's talk about whatever it is. And that availability of resource. You're saying that you tap into that. Is that a regular thing for you, Brad? Are you listening? Are you reading? What's your go-to medium?
Yeah, that's a great question. So anything from mindfulness and meditation at night to wind down, all the way through to if I'm going to see a set of clients in a day, instead of wasting the time listening to the radio, I plug straight into an audio tape, call it an audio tape, audio content.
Yep.
From any of my mentors and any content that I'm either involved in at the time or just in general to stay motivated and stay on task.
Yeah.
So certainly regularly, part of my day. And sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll automatically just flick on an audio tape while I'm getting ready. And that will just drive on my day and motivate me and really set me and calibrate me for a day of success.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me some of the names that influence you, either past or present, whether, an audio that you tap into, books that you read, etc. If audio is your medium, are there a few key, I guess, personalities that have popped up in your personal development journey?
Yeah, definitely. So if I wind the clock right back to 2004, my first real mentor in personal development was Bob Proctor.
Cool.
Bob Proctor, I resonate quite well with him, and the way he explains things and allows to teach you how to apply it is fantastic.
Yep.
And then more recently, John Assaraf has been a big part of what I do. So Out of the Secret.
Oh,
John
fantastic.
Assaraf is a direct mentor. So we talk, we've met. I've been to a number of his seminars and I remain on his programs.
Yep.
So he very much is a big part of what I do because of his brain retraining. So
Cool.
working on the brain, we call it inner sizing. I highly recommend him. If any of you have not become aware of him yet, have not done anything with him, look into it.
Nice.
For me, I found him a very important mentor on my journey. And I
very
think
cool.
We'll have somebody to look up to and to aspire to become.
Fantastic. Unreal. So, Brad, you're about, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 8 or 9 months into launching Uptime Systems as a CEO. What's been
Would you believe the time's gone quicker, Walt? It's actually 12 months.
Is it a year? Congrats, mate. That is absolutely fantastic. What's been your biggest achievement in going into that CEO role? What's been the biggest win so far for you?
Oh, definitely. Look, I think the freedom of the journey to create my own destiny 100%.
Yeah.
Obviously, I own the company 100% and I run it the way I feel it's going to best serve our clients.
Was there some surprises?
That freedom of that.
Sorry, mate, I didn't mean to cut you off. The actual achievement of freedom in terms of being in that central and core role as an achievement is absolutely spectacular. Is there anything that surprised you in that move? Was it something that has shocked you a little bit more than you thought it would?
Oh, definitely. I suppose really for me, just having to do a lot more things yourself in the early stage.
Sure.
Being willing to commit to what it takes. It is so far from a 9 to 5. From my perspective, in terms of you can't just clock in, clock off. Really, with an entrepreneurship, in my opinion, my experience has been you've really got to be able to commit for the all kinds of hours. There'll be times I've got deadlines. I've got to be working till midnight. I'll be getting up early and exercising, and then starting working in front of the computer at like a 7 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Certainly, it's a lot broader commitment, but there's excellent reward sitting behind that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, a lot of entrepreneurs and people that work for themselves, we all talk about this freedom in terms of being able to control your day. And then, in the same breath, we're talking about working till midnight and getting up at 4. And I think a lot of people see that as a conflict. But, again, personally, have you found a different way of managing your time with family and with, health, etc., now that you're in that CEO role?
Yeah, definitely. So time management was something that I had quite well before, but I've had to take it to a whole nother level now.
Sure.
And something where I've become a lot more disciplined as a result.
Okay.
So now I plan my day before.
Yep.
So I'll write out my day for tomorrow, the night before. I'll have that all clearly in front of me so that there's no guesswork and there's no distraction around when I step into the office, what I've got to achieve as my top, what I like to call income producing activities for that day ahead.
Sure.
So I'm doing a lot more planning to therefore create a better time management structure.
Nice.
For myself to make sure that I can be more efficient for the company.
Do you have tools? One of the questions that I had there, and I wanted to ask you, do you have a specific set of tools that you use on a daily basis? It might be productivity based or, just in terms of your day, either tech tools or, something that you always have to have at hand to make sure that your day runs smoothly?
Definitely, I would say it's an interesting one for me to answer this for you. It's exercise.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
I consider exercise for me, for my personal well-being and my productivity,
Yeah,
as being an important tool. It's probably not the answer that you're expecting off the
definitely
bat,
not.
but
But that's cool. Is that
um,
because it gives you a jump start in the day?
definitely. So I'm very refreshed, I'm energized,
Yeah,
and I become extremely focused after exercise. So I like to start my day by getting up early and exercising to
cool.
kick it off.
What's a
Doesn't
routine
always
for you? Like, what's an exercise routine? A daily, a gym session for you?
Definitely. So usually warming up and warming down on the treadmill, I like to run and I
Yep,
like to run on the treadmill. But if I can get outdoors and I ever get time, it would be great to go outside and you run a short track. I do a
sure.
couple of, I'm not the guy to run long distances.
Okay,
I run a couple of Ks and try to beat my time. I'm
okay,
a
all
bit
right.
competitive by nature, so I'll try to speed that up and I'll have the stopwatch going and see how much better I can do. And then I'll have a workout in between, the warm up, warm down
You're
to
doing
get
weights, and is it a high intensity weights kind of session? What sort of time frame we're talking from start of the warm up to end of the cool down? Are we? What's your time there in terms of a daily?
I ideally don't want to be going past an hour.
Okay,
So if I can do 45 minutes in and out of the cardio and the weight session, I know I'm really on point. I
and
know
you're ready
that's
to go.
ideal for me. But normally the average would be 1 hour by the time I'm walking in the door and walking out the door of the gym.
Nice. That's a really cool productivity tool. Like, if I ask most people, they would say, it's their phone, it's their calendar, it's their to-do list, it's their diary. But in terms of actually boosting your productivity, looking at that exercise as a tool is a great way to go. Brad, tell me, what would you, if you had an opportunity right now, you had an opportunity to meet with your 60-year-old self. So somehow, some way, you're 60 years old self is able to sit across the desk from you right now. What do you think your 60-year-old self would be telling you in terms of advice and information of what's happening?
Yeah, that's a great question again, and no surprise, brilliant question, Walt. I think it would be about making sure that you look after yourself.
Nice.
We get very consumed in a day-to-day world where we're so busy now. We've got so many stimulants. Everything's pretty instant in terms of technology and getting responses and distractions. Looking after yourself first, because if you don't look after yourself, you can't serve others.
Yeah.
And if you can't serve others, your productivity, really plummets. So that would be one of the things I would really look at. And that's in terms of feeding your body with good nutrients and health.
Yeah.
So good food.
Yeah.
Exercising on a regular basis to make sure that you yourself are well equipped to serve, your clients, your family, and a work-life balance to go with that.
Sure.
Making sure you're really making time for those important things in your family's life. So if that means that you literally block in your schedule to go to your daughter's dance recital, for me, I do it.
Yeah.
That time will never come back. I love the freedom that I create by being efficient to be at all those events with my children, with my wife, with my family members. And
Nice.
actually scheduling and the time management to make that happen is something I would definitely be telling myself. And it's something I'm working towards now.
Yep.
Through all years of experience. But those would be the key factors for me. Well, yeah.
Nice. Well, it sounds like your 60-year-old self has got some wisdom behind him, mate. So that's a good thing to look forward to. One of the words that you said there was the word create, where you said, the fact that you can create that freedom. And I think, in terms of entrepreneurship, that ability to create future, create, achievements, create time, create freedom. That's got to be one of the biggest appeals of the entrepreneur journey. Certainly from my perspective. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Creating things from nothing is something that I love because I was able to found a company, come
Yep.
up with a logo, come up with a color scheme to the logo, generally about the philosophy of the company. What problem are we trying to solve and what value are we going to deliver to the market that we serve? So whatever vertical that you operate in, whatever profession that you do, those things and that creation of that journey was so exciting for me.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. So we've heard from your 60-year-old self. Mate, I'll take you back now. If you had an opportunity to talk to your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know now being an entrepreneurial, well into the entrepreneurial journey, you've got an opportunity to go back to your 20-year-old self and have a chat. What would you say to that young man?
I think with my 20-year-old self, it would be, don't go to all the parties. Don't
Yeah,
drink every night. This is not the most important thing. Definitely make time to go out and enjoy your friendships and that part of your life, because that is a part of that phase of your life.
sure.
But read books, connect to mentors. I would definitely be telling myself to really look up into business
Okay.
and
So get
and
started earlier.
yeah, starting early in
Yeah.
these areas, because later on, if you've made a head start and you're already years down the track into, say, where you and I are now in terms of entrepreneurship and companies,
Yeah.
wow, you're looking at somebody who's quite a game changer. So that
Definitely.
would be one of the main messages to that 20-year-old self. Yeah.
Nice. What about a room full, mate? So, again, in terms of what you know now, if you had an opportunity to stand in front of a graduating class, these are people that have just finished the education system for what it is and are about to come into what we call the real world. What you've got 5 minutes on stage. What kind of things would you want to talk to a room full of graduating students about?
It's a very good question. So with the graduating students, they've got everything in front of them. The thing that I find interesting is at 17 years of age, we're basically tasked with the difficult decision to go, what do we want to do with our lives?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping by the time they've gone through university, they know pretty clearly, at least for now, where they're going to go and where their actual talent lies. So if they don't already know at that point, I'm standing on stage and trying to plead with them to get ready and know where you want to go. Because when you know where you want to go, then you can get the right mentors, you can read and research the right information to take you quite a lot faster to where you need to go with your
Yeah.
career. But you have to start with that question of, what do I want?
Yep. Absolutely.
Where
Get
am I
clarity.
going? Where's my passion?
Yeah.
As you know, Walt, you're very passionate like me. You connect with your passion and your purpose, and it's not work. It's an exciting journey all of a sudden, because you're actually realizing the passion and you're just going with that drive. So trying to connect them back into that purpose and recognizing their skills to take it into the career.
Yeah, very cool. Absolutely. I think it's so tough for people coming into the world at that point in their life to definitively say, this is who I am and this is what I want to do. But maybe I'm wrong in terms of getting that education in front of them, or actually even asking that question in the right way. Hopefully that might change the trajectory of somebody's next 3 years where they've been drifting. Maybe hearing that message might actually get them to ask the question in the right way. I hope so.
Definitely.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Brad,
I'd love to be a part of that in any way.
absolutely.
Just really blessed with a lot of skills that I've acquired over time in the business journey, and definitely to catapult them forward for quicker efficiencies. I think in my career have gone from a young age quite successfully through the ranks as an employee, and really relish this opportunity of entrepreneurship and how rewarding it is, but also even just how challenging it is. I actually like problem solving, really. So
I think that's one of the skills that, thinking about the kids, if we could give them one skill, like everybody's talking about what kind of industries aren't going to be redundant by the time kids are finishing school these days. And I keep coming back to problem solving, no matter what technology is out there or what roles are out there. I think problem solving is probably one of the skill sets that will save them in the future in terms of what they can get really good at and help to drive forward with.
Definitely. If you don't mind, I'd love to just point out one important factor to that university graduate group.
Sure.
Is stay ahead of technology.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you diversify yourselves and really get clued up on technology and where it's going. Not where it is. Where it is expected on par from my point of view, being in the IT space.
Yeah.
But looking at what are the growth curves, where is technology heading, so you don't become redundant.
Yeah, absolutely. And read all you can. Listen, if there's a whisper of a trend or a whisper of something upcoming, get into it, read about it, find out about it, and stay ahead of it. That's great advice, mate. Brad, what would somebody find surprising about you? I've got a couple of questions left. I'm so respectful and grateful of your time to come and have a chat to us. If we took a group of people and we had that opportunity to communicate with you, what's something about you that people would find surprising?
Surprising, I suppose, my level of energy.
Nice.
It's incredible. I love coffee, Walt, but
Okay.
once I add coffee to my level of energy, I literally can achieve so much. So
Right.
I'm
Okay.
in my cousin. I'm very close to. He's a very successful businessman himself, and we caught up the other day after some time, and he said, "Look, I'm jacked, but you're extremely jacked. You
Nice.
know, in terms of energetic and passionate. So I get a lot done in a short space of time, and yeah, a lot more energetic than most. And I put that down to eating the right foods and that exercise regime we were talking about a little
Interesting.
bit earlier.
Because I was
So
going to ask you that. I was going to say, what do you put it down to? You put it down to eating the right foods and exercising. But I would take you one step further, and as a challenge to you, I would put it down to what you're expecting out of yourself.
yes,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
Like,
So
if
yeah,
you didn't have those goals in front of you, you wouldn't be eating right. You wouldn't be exercising right. You've put that achievement, I guess, mantra in front of you as a driving direction, and it's the drive that gives you the energy. I think that's, again, that's an opinion.
definitely living a life on purpose is a driver. It definitely jumps you out of bed and gets you going and
Yeah.
stays on purpose. I think that knowing where you're going is critical. Having that plan, having those goals. I'm very specific in terms of goals, so
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a factor. I quantify them quite heavily, and I'm very detailed. And I separate them at the start of every year. I go, here's my business goals top 10, and here's my personal goals top 10. And I'm very specific around that. And I'm constantly looking at that, and I'm putting that wherever I am. So it's on my phone. So wherever I go,
Nice.
it's on my laptop and it's beside my bed, so that it's really constantly going through my mind of the course I'm on
Yeah.
and where I'm going to arrive, because I never really doubt I'm going to get there. Let's just say if there was 10 goals at the start of the year, I'll usually definitely knock out 9 out of 10.
Fantastic.
If
And be
there's
working on the
10
10th.
there, I'm always scratching my head going, where did I go wrong and why didn't this one happen? So I'm very hard on myself, but that does drive me.
Yeah.
There's no one harder on me than myself.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to an entrepreneur named Mario Brown, an amazing guy who talked about that exact thing with entrepreneurs. And he was saying that we are all hard on ourselves, hitting 9 out of 10 going, well, why didn't you get the 10th? Like, come on, let's get on with it. And
Yeah.
he also reminded me to pause and just take a look back every now and again and realize what you've achieved. And looking at, just in terms of your own growth and journey, I stand and congratulate you, mate, because you've achieved amazing things, and
Thank you so much.
I've seen through that journey that you do have that sort of life by design. Which brings me to my next question. I guess something that I'd love to know: what's next for Brad Andrews? What's next for Uptime Systems? What's the driver right now for you guys?
Definitely. So just before we were talking about staying abreast of technology. So my company provides a turnkey solution. So anything in the data center, from the hardware to the services. So preventative maintenance. So keeping equipment running longer, installing the equipment, maintaining the equipment, and also providing a cutting edge product solution that's not centric around one brand of technology.
Yep.
That's our purpose and that's our value add. And that certainly puts us in a very different minority space in our marketplace. And we have just been having exponential success around that.
Awesome.
In the future, there's going to be different battery technologies around the UPS systems. That's our core line of product.
Sure.
So there's going to be lithium technology coming through. That's very big. We're very much tapping into what's that going to look like, which brands are offering that, and who do we get in touch with and skilled up on quickly to make sure we're ahead of the curve.
Very nice.
And look, while I see that changing within a very short space of time,
Yep.
the next couple of years, the battery technologies are literally going to turn on a whim towards the new battery technologies. And then anything else around what we're doing, so power distribution, the racks and cooling, so the cooling in the IT environment. What are the latest cutting edge technologies out there, and how can we deliver that knowledge to our customers and partners to best drive their businesses forward into the future?
See, now as the CEO, you talk in different language, because now you're talking about your company needs to stay ahead of what's happening rather than being delegated through. So give me a turnover goal. Let's drop some accountability onto this podcast session with you. What are you going to take the company forward for the next half year to a year out? Where are we looking at?
Yeah, look, definitely. I mean, in a short space of time, we've been able to push up over the million mark very comfortably, and it's fast tracking toward the multiple millions. I expect to really have a 10x business within the next 2 years.
Fantastic.
Bold goal, big
Fantastic.
bold goal, but I love 10x, and I've got a base mark now where I can take that through, and I will work that engine to relieve,
Fantastic, mate. Come back on the show and tell us how that's going. We'd love to hear about it. And Brad, just one more before I head off. A personal goal of yours, looking at life as a family man right now, as a CEO, looking yourself in the mirror and saying, you know, what's next for me is this. What's the one that's got you moving forward?
Definitely. So I see myself spending more quality time with my family.
Yep.
And those important life events that I'll never get back.
Sure.
Making sure that that's an important part of it. The personal fitness and the healthy eating and living for the whole family and everyone I'm closely related to or friends in my circle. And for career, just again really realizing all that we can be in the marketplace as a leader in this technology for these value-added services and in the market. And I'd like to branch that out to other countries within what we do. So taking Uptime systems into other countries and markets all the way through Asia and perhaps one day over to the US and Europe as well.
Fantastic, mate. Brad, thanks so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it. The insights of moving from that corporate space and realizing the personal growth as you've come through and the choice to actually get yourself better in every way has resulted now in that CEO position, in that ability to drive those goals forward and in the achievements so far. So congratulations, mate. Seriously, well done and excited for the next journey for you. And again, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and again for your inspiration when we spoke some time back in terms of the transition between employee and entrepreneur, and especially about today. I think this has been a really great experience. I relish the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. It's a pleasure.